Welcome to the special 2021 EBL service. This is a very special time during the COVID pandemic. We are virtual. This service was put together by Todd Suture. Uniquely, we have 4 readings in this service. One from Reverend Suji, Reverend Kubose, Reverend Kono, and Reverend Seki, the founders of what was the EYBL in 1945. So we have a tradition and a legacy that we continue, and we are certainly appreciative that everyone is here today to enjoy and to reflect on the Buddha Dharma, and let us enjoy this service.
Thank you, Sensei. We'll continue with the service with the reading of a passage by Reverend Kenyutsuji, and it will be read by a Koji Buddhist Temple member, Jane Bleckman.
In the beginningless, endless flow of time, each life is a mere ripple, existing only for an instantaneous moment and disappearing forever. But each life is a unique experience with beauty and truth, all of its own, with no identical counterpart in history and none absolutely the same in the future. Your life, my life, is attuned to the rhythm of the cosmos and to the heartbeat of reality. Each life exists in the eternal now. Each idea that is thought, each word that is spoken, each action that is taken changes the whole pattern of the universe, for the universe is interdependent. Think, speak, and act, then always in the eternal now with compassion and understanding for your own enlightenment and for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Jane. Our Suture Chanting today, we will first be chanting Sambujo, the 3 respectful callings, which will be led by Reverend Ouchi of the Toronto Buddhist Church. And that will be followed by Vandana and Tisarana, led by Reverend Hayashi of a Koji Buddhist Temple. And lastly will be Juseige, led by Reverend Miyamura of the Midwest Buddhist Temple, along with all the EBL ministers joining their voices together. For each of these, the words will be on your screen, and you're all muted, so please join in to chant together.
Namanda, 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 Namanda.
十教十世間学問調整が非死無浄土志願不満足政府上昇学がお無料法不意大接種不採小貧軍政府上昇学が市場仏道妙正長実法仏教未証門政府上昇学利欲人少年上下主文業四愚無浄土一生天人師人力現代語不生無才道少女三苦妙菩薩集約難回避知恵言熱し公門案永足小悪道通達全注文放送上満足異様老実法日学習十期天候本普賢一種解放像法世功徳法情報大集中説法四式供養一切仏具足習徳本万年式上満徳意三害用養仏無下知通達未空所願学営利同志最小尊志願略国家大戦法感動国書天に道地量天アバ
I think you would all agree that during this time of COVID isolation, that it was very nice to hear all of our sensei's voices joined together again. Next, Bill Bowman of the Buddhist Temple of Chicago will read a passage written by the founder of BTC, Reverend Gyome Kubose. Bill?
Oneness does not mean that all become one and the same. The recognition of difference is oneness. One is many, and many is one. Equality means difference, and difference is equality. Everyone is unique in himself, and this uniqueness makes the world interesting. In being unique, there is untold respect for others' uniqueness. Only when one really respects and honors himself can he respect others. Each one should be as perfect as he himself can be. Each person shall be the finest that he himself is, without comparison with others. Buddhism teaches the finding of one in the many and the many in the one, the diversity in each one of us. This world of oneness is nirvana. It is Namo Amida Butsu, and it is Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Bill. Our Gatha today is Shinshu Shuka, or Song of Jodo Shinshu, which will be played by a collaboration of musicians from different temples, the Twin City Sangha, Ekoji, and 2 Dharma School students from Seabrook. The words will be on your screen, so feel free to sing along. And I think this is probably the first time Shinshu Shuka will be played as a brass trio. So thanks to Greg Nakamura for his arrangement. That was pretty awesome. I think virtual applause is okay and in order. Well, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker today for our Dharma message. Reverend Caitlin Kongo Masher Mace is Assistant Minister or Taikyoshi Ho at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple. Caitlin Sensei was born in Oregon and raised in Santa Fe, New Mexico, attending not only the Lutheran Church on Sundays, but also Catholic Mass. A very interesting combination. She started her journey to Jodo Shinshu in college while attending the Colorado School of Mines. Career-wise, she was a petroleum engineer for 13 years and then left the field to become a paramedic while attending the Institute of Buddhist Studies to become a Jodo Shinshu priest. Caitlin Sensei is married to her wife, Karen, living in many parts of the country, including Canada, until settling where they are today in Colorado. And some of you may already know her from her very educational Your Temple Minute videos, that are available on YouTube. So go ahead and Google that. And we're grateful that she is able to take the time to share the Dharma with us. So welcome, Caitlin Sensei.
Thank you very much for having me. I'd ask everyone to join me in Gassho. I'm going to be reading a passage from the Jodo Monruri Jusho, the passages on the Pure Land Way, page 305 in the collected works of Shinran. When persons awaken Shinjin and utter the name, Amida's light embraces and protects them. And in this life, they acquire immeasurable virtue. In this light, boundless and inconceivable, never ceases a moment, nor does it differentiate by time, place, or any circumstance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda. I first want to say I'm deeply honored to be invited here today to speak for the Eastern Buddhist League. When Reverend Suture told me about the theme, gratitude, I had to think deeply about what is the meaning of gratitude. I think there's a very easy dictionary definition. To be grateful for something given, to be grateful for something received, to be grateful for lessons, to be grateful for almost anything in life. And yet, within Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, we speak about gratitude a lot. And what does that mean? So I think in one way, it's very easy to say, the statement for us as Nembutsu is the Nembutsu of thanks and the Nembutsu of gratitude, because it's not us doing any of the work, it's Amida Buddha doing the work for us. As Shinran says, this light, boundless and inconceivable, never ceases a moment. Amida's light embraces and protects them who utter the name when a person awakens Shinjin. Shinjin, the heart of true realization, the one thought moment, which is our understanding that we are embraced by the vow. And so our gratitude is saying Namo Amida Butsu, saying Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. And yet we're human. We're filled with greed, anger, and ignorance. And everything that we do is colored by this greed, this anger, and this ignorance. And this prevents our constant knowledge of the gratitude that we should be showing to Amida Buddha. The former Kaikyoshi of this temple, Reverend Fuji, used to tell me all the time, Caitlin, you know you're in the light because you can see your shadow. And so that made me think, where can I find places to be grateful? And how can I find gratitude in my life? So I looked back to lessons I've been taught and interesting things that have happened. And as Reverend Suchia said, I still work as a paramedic. I had spent a large portion of my life as a petroleum engineer, specializing actually in hydraulic fracturing and geophysical applications of hydraulic fracturing technologies. And funny thing about that is you don't learn about people very well doing that field. And so I decided in 2011 that I was going to become an EMT. And so I went to EMT school and I spent several years volunteering as an EMT. And I was like, all right, this is cool, but I can do more. And so in 2015, I went to paramedic school. And I graduated with a degree in paramedicine in 2017. And for those of you who don't know much about EMS, paramedicine, within the emergency medical services, paramedicine is the terminal degree. In the United States, that's as far as you can go. And so I was a paramedic. And in 2018, I started work with Weld County Paramedics, Banner Health in Northern Colorado, in a pretty rural part of Colorado. So it's about an hour from the Denver Buddhist Temple. So I was thinking about who are the people that showed me that I should show gratitude for every moment of my life and remember that I'm always in the light. So I want to tell you about a call I went on in October of 2018. I was on an ambulance called Ambulance 108 that covered northern Greeley, a city in northern Colorado. And myself and my partner, Kim, were dispatched for a fall. And so we responded emergent to this fall, and we pulled up to a very nice double wide trailer and hopped out. And Evans Fire had beat us there by about 30 seconds. And they said, quick, grab all your stuff, grab all your stuff. And we walk in, and in the doorway was an 85-year-old man who had experienced a cardiac arrest. And spread all around him was his groceries, because he had walked in the door and literally dropped of a cardiac arrest. And so I did the paramedic stuff for about 30 minutes, performed CPR, intubated, did all the things I needed to do to try to save this man's life. And we failed. Not so much failed as weren't able to change what was going to happen. And so in one moment, that man was my great teacher, because he reminded me that all things end and that I am impermanent. But that's not the person I want to talk about. The entire time we performed CPR on this person, who I've never met but has deeply affected me, in the corner at the kitchen table sat his wife, who softly sobbed. And after I had decided that 30 minutes was all we were going to do, and he was not going to survive, I called it, I pronounced the time of death, and we started cleaning up. And the firefighters and my partner helped me clean up. And I took a moment to go over and sit down with her. And I've seen a lot of reactions to death. Some people wail, some people deny it, but she was at peace. And she looked at me and said, you know, I was really lucky. I was really lucky because I got to spend 57 years with him. He was my partner in everything I did. And I knew someday it was going to end, but I didn't know when. But I am deeply grateful for every moment I got to spend with him. And we sat there at her kitchen table for 15 minutes, and she told me stories of their life, about them getting married, their first house, their kids. And I had to go. I wanted to stay there all day, but eventually I had to go because there was other calls I had to go on. But I had to go sit in the ambulance for a couple minutes afterwards, and the sun was shining because it was a bright October day in Colorado. And the only thing that could slip from my lips was Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Because this person reminded me, this person, I don't remember their name, I wish I did. But they reminded me that all things are impermanent, and I need to be grateful for every moment I'm in the light. I need to be grateful for this great teacher who said, this is the life we're living. This is a life where I just experienced loss, and yet I can be grateful for the moments that I had with this other man and our paths converging. Namo Amida Butsu. Naman Davids, Naman Davids, Naman Davids. So there's one other person I want to tell you about. Here in Denver, we're having an epidemic of homelessness. There's a lot of reasons. It has to do with the lack of affordable housing and everything else. But you're always surprised when you see people on the street laying on the corner. And there's a large amount of homeless people here with dogs. And I've always been amazed to watch someone be given a bottle of water, and the first thing they do instead of taking a drink in themselves is give it to their dog. And they're aware of the causes and conditions that have brought them together. And that sort of giving when someone knows that they need, but they give to someone else, I think that is something to look at and also be inspired by and form gratitude towards. And so these two lessons have made me look at myself. What am I grateful for? And what should I be grateful for? And I can tell you that this Jodo Shinshu teaching is something I am deeply grateful for. At the end of the passage from the Jodo Monroi Jusho, there's a line. Nor does it differentiate by time or place or any circumstance. I'm not Japanese American. I'm a convert. And as Todd pointed out, I grew up going to Lutheran church with my family on Sundays, and I attended Catholic high school. And so I went to Mass on Wednesdays. And so I didn't grow up in this tradition. And yet I was able to walk in to a temple and be welcomed. Because it doesn't matter who I am or what I am, what I've done before or what I'm going to do in the future. I am embraced by the vow, Namo Amida Butsu, by the commanding aspect of the vow. Come and be part of this great practice given for you. And my gratitude towards that is going to be something that I found in the Jusege. Juppo Shishiku. I'm going to share the Dharma with a lion's roar. That is the gratitude I am going to show for this amazing Nembutsu teaching, for this Jodo Shinshu experience and journey that we are all on. We are all on the ship of the vow. And that's amazing. So in closing, I want to welcome all of you to look around and find the teachers that inspire you to say, Namo Amida Butsu, to look up and see the sun and know that you are always in the light. When you see your shadow, that means Amida is there with you. And when you have a moment when you're confused or happy, when you're sad or angry, and you're going to be all those things because we're humans and we have our bono. Say Namo Amida Butsu with the deepest gratitude. Please join me in Gasho. When persons awaken Shinjin and utter the name, Amida's light embraces and protects them. And in this life, they acquire immeasurable virtue. This light, boundless and inconceivable, never ceases a moment, nor does it differentiate by time or place or any circumstance. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caitlin Sensei. Thank you for your deeply personal, deeply meaningful reflections on gratitude. The powerful message. Thank you so much. Next, we'll hear the words of Renyo Shonin from the Gobun Sho. Shonin Ichiryu Sho, or the tradition of Shinran Shonin, will first be read in Japanese by Reverend Chiemi Onikurablai from the Twin Cities Buddhist Association, and then in English by Reverend Isabel Bernard from the New York Buddhist Church.
Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda. Shonin ichiryu no gokanke no omomuki wa shinjin o motte honto serare so. そのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心に乱に奇妙すれば不可思議の眼力として仏の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいを一年発起入賞上始終とも釈し その上の称名念仏如来我が往生を定めたまりし、ご恩法人の念仏と心べきなり、あなかしこ、あなかしこ。
The tradition of Shinran Shonen. What is taught in the tradition of Shinran Shonen is that the entrusting heart is essential. For when we abandon various practices and take refuge in Amida with singleness of heart, our birth in the Pure Land is settled by the Buddha through the inconceivable vow power. The state we thus attain is described as, with awakening of a single thought of entrusting, we join those who are in the stage of the truly settled. Recitation of the Nembutsu thereafter should be understood to be the Nembutsu as an expression of gratitude for the Tathagata's benevolence for settling our birth in the Pure Land, humbly and respectfully. Namon Dogs, Namon Dogs, Namon Dogs, Namon Dogs.
Thank you, Isabel and Chiemi Senseis. As is traditionally done in our combined services like this, we'll have incense offering by representatives of each temple. And this will be accompanied by the wonderful piano playing of Yuko Keicho of Ekoji Buddhist Temple. Next is a passage written by Reverend Gyodo Kono, founder of the Midwest Buddhist Temple, and who also helped to start the Twin Cities and Cleveland temples as well. And this will be read by Jean Toguri of the Midwest Buddhist Temple. Jean.
The Buddha is always teaching us. This is a world of transiency. Everything is always changing. The Buddha Dharma teaches us to quietly reflect on the causes and conditions that make our life what it is. We must live the life that is given to us as completely as we can. The only way to do that is through the power that allows us to live completely. But this power is not something we receive as a result of seeing it. Rather, the Buddha teaches us that this power is what is given to us unconditionally. Namo Andabatsu, Namo Andabatsu, Namo Andabatsu.
Thank you, Jean. Our closing gatha for today's service is Ondok-san 2, and it will be played by members of Midwest Buddhist Temple and the Twin Cities. And once again, the music is on your screen, so feel free to sing along. Our closing reflection will be read by New York Buddhist Church member and president of the American Buddhist Studies Center, Hoshina Seki. This passage was written by Hoshina's father, Reverend Hozen Seki, and is from the book, The Great Natural Way. Hoshina?
Thank you. In this world, it is very difficult to be selfless. But when we truly understand the teachings of the Buddha, then we recognize the truth of Shinran Shonin's statement that all sentient beings are my father and mother. Let us see why this is so. When we meditate on the true nature of the universe and every sentient being, we will realize, as Gautama Buddha said, that all life is oneness. Oneness is all. So we cannot live alone. And when we pass away from this world, we enter into infinite life and light. This life and light is not discriminated. It is not my own life and light. It belongs to all sentient beings. Thank you. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Hoshina. This concludes the EBL service. And I want to thank the many people involved. Thank yous to Reverends Miyamura, Ikeda, Hayashi, Nakai, and Ouchi for their continued guidance. Thank you to Reverend Caitlin Master Mace for her very meaningful Dharma message. Thank you to the Seabrook Buddhist Temple and Tammy Wetzel for the Kansho at the opening of the service. Thank you to our readers, Jane Bleckman, Bill Bowman, Jean Toguri, and Hoshina Seki. For the Gobunsho is Reverend Chiemi Onikura Blai and Reverend Isabel Bernard. Our musicians, there's a long list: Yuko Keicho, Cliff Long, Greg Nakamura, Samantha Williams, Brody Williams, Chiemi Onikura Blai, Kevin Kosobayashi, Toyo Lang, and Christina Sable. And thank you very much for the technical support, which this would not have been able to be put together today without them, is Andrea Chapman. And all those videos are put together by Kyle Tsuchiya. And thank you to all the temple members of the Eastern Buddhist League for your participation. So I'd like to close our live streaming with the playing of a native double flute by Cliff Long of the Koji Buddhist Temple. And thank you again for joining us today.